Right guys, in this episode we're fitting alloys and coilovers to this BMW E60. This is my new car. If you've seen my other videos, unfortunately you would have learnt that my Land Rover got written off, unfortunately. But yeah, so this is my new one. Right, first of all, sorry about the Caravan and the Fiesta, but I'm running out of room. Right, these are the coilovers. They're off Stance UK. Got them off eBay for 270 quid. So I'll try and put a link down in the description if you're interested in these. And that's the front one. Quite good quality as well, to be fair. There's a mark on one of the springs, looks like it's been touched in at some point. And so these are brand new. Obviously you've got to use the original top mount off the car, so we'll change that over when we come to it. A nice adjuster. Not too keen on the ones with the pivot on the arm, which is what that one is. But all this, it will be alright. I've got others. Right. And this should be a rear one. Ah, yes. Or is that a front? Sorry, no. That's the front one. Obviously it's got the helper springs in. Obviously the top mount goes on there. I think. Obviously we'll know a bit more once we've got the old ones off. Obviously the car's still in one piece at the moment. So either that's the front, I'm guessing that's the front, because it sits in the hub. So that means that is a rear. McPherson struts all round. Cool. So that's the coilovers. Next is the wheels. Right, I've been waiting for these wheels for about 3 weeks. I've had the car 5 weeks. 4 weeks. 5 weeks? One or the other. 4 or 5 weeks. Anyway, been waiting for these wheels for about 3 weeks. They finally came. The tyres came within like 2 days. I ordered them off Camskill. But then I got the wheels off eBay and they were 600 quid plus £70 postage and packaging. But I had to wait for them to come from Latvia. So yeah, let's have a look. Da, 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 da. Oh yeah. Right, these are style 128s. These are the fronts. These two here. Those are 9J. And then the rears are 10J. Nice concave on them. Very nice concave on them. They're 19-inch, 9J fronts, 10J rears. Unfortunately, I came a bit short on money because obviously the coilovers cost me 270, and the alloys cost me 600 quid plus 70 quid postage and packaging. So the tyres I had to put accelerators on. Yay. But the fronts on a 9J I've put 225 35 19, and on the rears are 255 30 19, and it's come out, it's quite a nice stretch. That's the rears. And the fronts, similar sort of thing, but the only annoying thing is on the 225s they've got the rim protector on. On the 255s not so much, so you see the rim a little bit more, which I don't mind, but you know, they're the same tyres, they're PH1s. So that's enough chit chat for now. Let's get them on the car. Right guys, already got the car jacked up and that, got the wheel off. I have already done the other side. well, I've got so far with it, but I'll explain that in a bit. Right, basically, first things first, before you forget, take the, it's a Torx bit, take the nut out the disc, the Torx bit, and it is a T45. What I usually do, before I take the caliper off, just put a screwdriver in between the disc and the vents, and so it won't damage it, don't worry. And then, just so it locks the wheel, and then it makes it easy to undo that bolt then. Like that. That's that one. Right, let's take the screwdriver out. Right, next we are going to take the caliper carrier off. I'm not going to bother taking the caliper off then the carrier off, so I'm just going to take the whole lot off in one. Obviously 18mm, get the breaker bar on it, makes it a little bit easier. Undo top and bottom while you've got the breaker bar out. There we go, that's them cracked off. Right, the brake pad wear sensor out. Right, you've got to make sure you don't leave what it's just done, that clip behind. And so that goes on the sensor. You don't want to lose that bit. Right, one more repair. Need to disconnect the ABS sensor. So it's just a little box at the back here. Obviously with this blue plug inside, and on one side there's a little clip, and push it in. Bolt out. You see, the discs are really loose, so you've got to be careful it don't drop your fingers or anything. Ooh. And that's the disc and caliper off. Right. That's the disc and caliper off. Right. I've run out of cable ties, so I've put the disc on the floor. Obviously there's enough, it's loose enough so it's not putting any pressure on the brake hose. Put the disc on the floor and the brake caliper on top. Right, next is we're going to take the dirt guard off the hub. Next, just 10mm, and there is 4 of them. Yeah, 4 of them. Right, and that's the crack guard off. Right, next is you will have to take off the 3 ball joints. Obviously there's 2 ball joints, two arms, one coming in from the back here, right from that one there, if you can see, and then the other one comes, this one here, so it comes from the back here down to the bottom. Wire brush and WD-40. It is your friend, use them, trust me. You'll thank yourself later. So you need to drop the 2 bottom ball joints, only on the hub, you don't need to take them off off the chassis side. 2 ball joints on the bottom, and also the steering ball joint as well. Just so, because obviously this, the strut, the old strut actually comes right down to about here, and that's quite a long distance, because obviously this is your back pin. You need to take that pin out, and then the hub slides off. You haven't got enough leverage in these arms for it to come all the way off, because that's quite a distance to go all the way down to there. So yeah, just persevere with the ball joints. I'll be back in a sec once I've got them all off, because it could take a while. Right, managed to get both the bottom ball joint bolts out. The one that goes in down, obviously it came off quite easily on the other one as well. That one's come off again relatively easy. The one that goes up is a bit more awkward. It doesn't like moving, but the nut's off now anyway, so that's that. Right, so next you need an 18mm. I'm going to take the nut off the pin, that's the pinch bolt. The other side shouldn't spin. If it does, it's probably a good thing. It's an 18mm both sides if you need a spanner, because on the other side this was a bit of a nightmare. Okay, seems a bit better on this one. Started off easy, but it went tight, so for some good reason. God only knows. Because that, the hole through there shouldn't be threaded. I don't think it is. As you might be able to see, all the corrosion that's gone on in there. It seems to be threading that all right. But it's getting tight now. Oh dear. It's gone loose again. There we go. Yeah, as you can see from that, all the corrosion that's sitting in the threads. The bolt off the other side was full all the way along. A bit of a bugger to get out, but that's that. So the next bit, bolt here. There's a bracket on. The other bit of the bracket, the other bolt to the bracket, obviously the one bolt is this pin, the bracket for the anti-roll bar. Right. So that's that off. Right. Then you dropped all the, make sure you drop all the ball joints out beforehand. So lose the light as well. Right. Drop all the ball joints out. Generous with the WD. Underneath all the crevices. Then go mad with the hammer. that's it. Just the top 3 bolts to go now. Right, just make sure when you take the top 3 bolts out, obviously you guys probably know where they are anyway. They're really easily accessible in the E60. So this pin goes on the inside, so make sure that pin is towards the engine on both sides. So on this is the passenger side we're doing at the moment, so just so you know. What we need to do now, pop that cap off. I think it's a 22mm nut underneath. Need to get the spring compressors on there as well. 21 or 22. Another 21. There you go, and that's a 22mm in the top there. We get the spring compressors on. We don't need the strut, we don't need the spring, we don't need the top spring cap, we don't need that washer. All we do need, we don't need the nut either because we've got a new one. Make sure, obviously it's still intact, the bearing and that. Obviously if the bearing's still not intact or anything, you'll need to get a new one. Right, let's get the new coilover. Right, that's up close view for you. Right, so that's the top. Obviously it comes with 2 nuts, but we're only going to be using one of them. Comes with a washer already, top plate, spring. Obviously you've got your adjusters there, nice anodised purple. Got the Stance Plus on there. Then obviously what you'll notice is it's nowhere near as long. Obviously where it will actually sit, it's nowhere near as long. So yeah, all good. Right. Right, leaving that washer in place where it is, putting it on, put the top mount on, and then we're going to be using the nut that comes with them with the Loctite on. Right, is it a 22? Right, that's that. Right guys, as you can see, it's now dark. Ran out of memory on the memory card, so I had to quickly put it onto my PC. But in the meantime, I've been cracking back on. So this side is all pretty much back together. I've still got the disc and the caliper to go back on. I'll give you a look around this side now. Right, basically, the reason I've had to start this side before I finish the other side is obviously this is your anti-roll bar link here. Goes down to your anti-roll bar and round it up there. Basically, I couldn't, because this side was still all bolted together on the old suspension, it was a totally different height, so I couldn't bolt this back on before I got this side off. So like obviously now it's all bolted back on this side, I still need to do the other side. But yeah, so yeah. obviously that's your steering arm ball joint. That was probably the worst one to get off. Then you've got a light around a bit. Obviously, then you've got, that's the ball joint that comes. That's the ball joint that comes through from the top side, and then that arm comes from the back and goes up through the hub. Basically, you can't get this one out. You have to undo this bolt, make sure obviously it's not locked in there. Take the nut off, make sure the ball joint isn't seized in. Got to get the ball joint out first. But basically, if you can get the camera, right, the bottom of the strut here. The old, obviously, as I showed you earlier, the old one's quite a lot longer, so you can't pull this arm up without taking the whole hub down. So you have to undo this pinch bolt here, which is the one that clamps the strut in place. You have to undo that and obviously take the whole hub and the ball joint out all at the same time. Obviously when you put it back in, it's not too bad if you're fitting coilovers, but if you're just doing a spring, putting the same one back on, you'd have to get this in at the same time as putting the strut back in to the hub. So just make sure on that one. Yeah, obviously on this side, right, obviously got the caliper and disc and everything to go back on. I've got the shield back on. I would make a suggestion, don't do the same thing I did. If you see that bolt there, I can't put it back in because on the back of it I accidentally hit it with a hammer and it's bent the thread inside, so just be aware of that when you do it yourself. Obviously got the bracket back on. Obviously this is how it's situated on the back. Obviously that's your pinch bolt there. Got the ABS sensor back in. Got the brake pad warning sensor back in. Obviously you've still got the clip for it over there. Yeah, right, I'll give you a quick look at the other side. And this is the stage the other side's at the moment. Obviously I haven't got the pinch bolt in or anything. I've got all the ball joints back in though. But obviously I couldn't put the pinch bolt back in before I got this back in place, but now it sits there nicely. So be able to get that back in place now. I'll get this side back together, and yes, right, that is the disc and caliper back on. Right. going to get the other side back together, and then we'll match up, adjust the coilovers to match each side. I'll see you in a sec. Right guys, I've got both sides all back together now. Now I'm going to measure from the top of the hub to the top of the top locking ring at the bottom of the spring here. Obviously you want to do this the same on both sides. So here we go, off the top of the hub. Right, that is just above 130 mil. Work in millimetres if you can, a bit more accurate. Obviously I don't know what sort of height it's going to be when it's back on the ground. I might have to readjust. Right, that is pretty much bang on. 130 mil, so that's the top of that ring. I've dug these out, these fit perfectly to be fair, so I'll use these, further fixed ones. So obviously you don't want the top one to move, so bring that up to there. Keeping the top one in place, and you're using the bottom one to tighten it. Make sure it's tight because you don't want them moving. Right, I'll get the other side done. I'll get the wheels on, get it back on the floor, and start on the rears.